Good morning, folks. I wanted to share with you that I have an update to a post that I had made just a couple days ago, and this is an update to a weekly update progress form that you might use with your students. So as I had pointed out, we have a list of students, list of weeks, and a progress, a numeric number. In fact, I'll show you here. It's a numeric number between a number between 0 and 100. So basically, they're going to put in how they're progressing on whatever the task is. I had shared earlier that you can build this using a filter formula, which you can copy across and down if you build that formula correctly. And then I also showed how you could, in the previous video, how you can build this whole thing with a single formula. And these pieces here are just how that's broken down with a virtual array and a way of combining the name and week so that you could use a virtual array and a VLOOKUP. But I added a new feature, and this feature is to chart each individual person's progress. And in this case, you could just use this and take a look at each individual student with this drop-down. Just to point out, this is actually a data validation that we're using to list these names, and these names are coming from this sheet, which is a formula, sort unique data. So as you get the names in here, the list automatically builds out, and you could also just type in the list of students. This is their email addresses. I just put in different varieties of email addresses I own to test this. And so the part that I added is I have added a folder, and in this folder, in my weekly update project folder, I have added a folder where I'm collecting a PDF version of each one of these. So for instance, if I wanted to look at Tim week 2 progress, here's a PDF of that, and I've written an app script that will let me take this data when it's submitted, every time the data is submitted. And by the way, to get these email addresses, we are using a array literal to get the header, and then an array formula to look up the name or the email address based on the name out of this list. So here's our VLOOKUP table, here's the names, here's their addresses. This formula automatically adds that email address as soon as the form is submitted, so you don't have to use the students' email addresses if you already have them. And then I've got this script. Let's take a look. So what we're doing with this script is a couple of constants. So we're getting the active spreadsheet. We're getting the sheets. We're using that to hide and show the sheets. I'll tell you why in a moment. We have a sheet named the chart sheet. That's this sheet right here called chart. We're using that to individually build a chart every time it's submitted and email that. We're collecting all of the PDF files in this folder. You would change this to your folder ID. And then the next section, we're hiding all sheets except chart. And the reason for that is when you create a PDF out of a spreadsheet, it creates a PDF of all sheets unless you hide them. So we're first of all hiding all sheets except chart. That's what this part of the function does. And then we're getting the last submitted row. We're getting the sheet, which is the data sheet. We're getting the last row of the data sheet. And then the name is column 2 of the last row, column 2. We're getting the value, which is the name. and the week, which is in column 3, and then this email address that we've just created or done with the VLOOKUP in column 5. Actually, let me fix this. This should be column E in our example. So then we're going to update the chart sheet. So what we need to do to get the correct sheet there is we need to put the name of the person who submitted. So we're getting the chart sheet, we're getting the range B1. Let's take a look at that. Here's my B1, and in this script, we're setting the value of name. So every time the form is submitted, it puts that value of name in there. And then we need to run this quick flush of the spreadsheet so that the chart updates before it moves on to the next step. And then we're going to create a PDF of chart. So we are getting a folder, which is the folder by ID. So here's our folder ID. So it's getting this folder, and then we're creating a blob, a PDF blob, and that is going to be Drive app, get the file by ID, spreadsheet, get ID. So we've identified the spreadsheet. Here we're getting its ID, and then we're getting a blob of it, which is basically getting a PDF of it. And then the PDF file is going to be in the folder that we've named, which is this folder ID here. We're going to create a file, and it's going to be that blob. It's going to be the PDF. We're going to set the name as name plus a space hyphen space plus the week plus progress report. And that is what these look like: name, week to progress. So that's creating that file in there for us. And then we are emailing that PDF. So we're sending the email to the email, which we have identified here, and is pulling it from that data sheet. We're adding in the subject, which is week plus weekly progress report plus name. And then in the body of that, we're typing in attached is the weekly progress report for name and week and so forth. You can read that. And then adding the attachment. And then at the very end of the script, we're unhiding all sheets so that we can come back and view this with our data and these other sheets that we're using. So it's a quick way to collect data from your students. They're putting in some progress that they're making. It may be a score on some reading or whatever it might be for you, and then it's automatically creating a PDF version. You can see here, we can open one of these up. This is what is emailed, and every week, this would generate a bigger one. Let's take a look here at one where we have had more data collected. So in this case, it's Kitty, showing all of the weeks and creating that chart on the fly and emailing it to the person that has the email address related to Kitty. So in that case, it would email to one of my other email addresses. So I will share this script with you, and basically the only thing you'd really change if you built something very similar to this would be the folder ID, and then if any of your other columns change, depending on what you're building, you would modify the script as needed.